It may seem like all homeschoolers are ultra religious, but there has been a growing trend over the past several years where more and more homeschoolers are doing so for non religious reasons. Some of these families don't practice a religion at all, while others just don't want to incorporate religion into their child's education. We have been secular homeschoolers for over 10 years, and I have personally seen this trend with more and more homeschoolers doing so for non religious reasons, which has been great because there's been a growing number of secular homeschool curriculums available, secular co ops, activities, and just things that aren't solely centered around religion. Here are 7 secular reasons why families are choosing to homeschool. Parents are able to create a higher quality education that is tailored to their child's specific needs. Our current education system really pushes a one size fits all curriculum where the students are supposed to do the exact same thing at the exact same time, all the way through their education. So, all kids are supposed to read at the same time, they're supposed to be doing the same math at the exact same time as all of their peers. And the reality is that children develop differently. I have my degree in developmental psychology, and let me tell you that school today is really not developmentally appropriate for children. We have elementary aged kids sitting in desks almost all day learning, and that is not how elementary aged kids learn. They learn mostly through play. And by putting kids in a desk all day to read, do math, we're not meeting those children's needs. And when you homeschool, you are able to teach your kids in a way that is more developmentally appropriate. I do wish that the education system would change. I mean, that is the solution, to change our education system, but that is going to take time and we're not anywhere close to that. So being able to homeschool your kid can really give them a quality education that is much more developmentally appropriate. And even like when you get to high school age kids, teenagers and adolescents, their circadian rhythm is different. They are not designed to wake up early in the morning and start doing school. They sleep in later, and we are forcing them up. They're not getting enough sleep. And we're also putting way too much pressure on them in their adolescent years when they're growing and developing and just figuring things out in general. We're putting so much pressure on them to make a long term decision of like what college you're going to, what degree you're going to get, and what are you going to do with the rest of your life. And that is way too much pressure for an adolescent. According to a survey by the National Center for Education Statistics, 41% of parents are homeschooling their kids due to academic concerns. Number two, 31% of parents cite bullying and safety concerns as a reason for homeschooling. We all know that the number of school shootings has increased dramatically. School violence, bullying, cyberbullying is just out of hand, and our kids are not feeling safe in school. We have active shooter drills that not only are traumatizing and affecting our kids' mental health, but it's making them not feel safe inside of school. In their mind, school is not a safe place to be. It's a place where I have to be prepared in case a shooter comes in. When you don't feel like you're in a safe place, this creates fear and anxiety and is really affecting our kids' mental health. There has been a massive increase in the amount of disruptive behavior inside of the classroom that all kids are having to deal with, whether they're the ones that are being disruptive for a variety of reasons that are probably out of their control, to the kids who are not disruptive but are having to be in that environment. Teachers just do not have the support to deal with these behaviors. And while inclusive classrooms are amazing, they are not being supported in the right way. There's not enough aides in classrooms. Classes are getting bigger, and it's just, not something that the teachers can handle anymore. I went to school, I was going to be a teacher, but I have a lot of teacher friends. And just over the years, hearing the reports of like what's going on inside of the classrooms, not the teacher's fault 100%, but just with the curriculum that they're having to teach the kids, the amount of children in their classes, the like they're just not getting the support, and there's way more stress, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a second, inside the classroom. When you put a bunch of kids in a classroom without support, you're taking away their recess, you're making them sit in a desk all day and learn stuff that's probably not developmentally appropriate to them. They're going to act out and misbehave, and it is not their fault. Number three, 16% of parents report flexibility and freedom as a reason for their homeschooling. Homeschooling allows unparalleled flexibility when it comes to family schedules and traveling, going on vacation. It's great for working parents who maybe want to be with their kids a lot more, even though they're having to work. I know that I've always been a working parent, and homeschooling has always worked out great for my family. And then also just like being able to do fun things as a family when there's less crowds. We lived in Florida for a few years, and one year we got Universal passes, and another year we got Disney passes. We were able to go to those theme parks about once a week for an entire year, missing all of the crowds and having like a blast. While that's not really a homeschool activity, that's a really fun family experience that we got to have together because we were homeschooling. And of course, you can just go on family vacations in the middle of the year, maybe in winter when it's cold and you want to go somewhere warm. You just miss all the crowds. You can also save a lot of money by going during the off time. There's also a lot of flexibility when it comes to picking curriculum, and you're learning how fast paced your kid learns or slow paced your kid learns, just depending on the subject area. Some kids are really great at certain subjects and they are going to fly through those, and might have a little bit more of a challenge in other areas, and you need to slow down. And you have the flexibility to be able to do that and meet your child where they are. Which number four is special needs and individualized attention. This is particularly important to kids who have some sort of special need or learning difference. 15% of parents cite this is a reason for why they are homeschooling their kids. It is a reason why we homeschool in our family. We are a neurodivergent family. We have autism, ADHD, dyslexia within our family, and homeschooling has been amazing. It offers a more personalized and supportive environment that isn't necessarily available in the school system. Kids who are neurodivergent may struggle with sensory issues in school, having a rigid structure and schedule within the school, or the schedule not being structured enough for them. Social demands, learning demands. Neurodivergent kids generally struggle in certain areas, but then excel in other areas. And you're able to meet all of those needs on a personalized level when you're homeschooling. It might be hard for some kids to sit still in a classroom. They may have a hard time with the loud noises in the area or making eye contact with their teacher or students. They might be bullied more. There's just a variety of reasons why neurodivergent kids don't generally do very well inside of a mainstream classroom. We've been really able to deep dive into special interest and focus on a lot of life skills. My oldest is 18 and is a very independent, successful young adult. And I really attribute that to being able to homeschool and focus on things that have been really important to us on a personal level. Number five, the mental health and well-being of our kids. There has been a massive increase in mental health disorders. According to the CDC, major depressive episodes in kids and adolescents has increased over 53% over the past 10 years. 50% of adolescents have some diagnosed mental health disorder at some point during their life, and 22% of those have been majorly disruptive. Every year, 1 in 10 adolescents attempts suicide, and that is an alarming number. That's one in 10 kids every year. That's up 57% over the past 10 years. Obviously, there's something going on with the mental health of our kids. Homeschooling is a way to protect your kids from all of the outside stresses that school causes, from bullying to, being stressed out about violence in school, social media influence, academic pressure. It can really increase the positive relationships that your kids have both inside the home and outside the home. When kids go to school, they cannot choose who they are around. They are stuck in a classroom and in a school with all different types of kids, both good and bad. But when you homeschool, you can choose who you are around and only be around positive people. Number 6 is standardized testing. We all know that the No Child Left Behind Act has drastically influenced the way that our schools are teaching kids, and standardized testing is still being implemented in the schools, even though it really has negative effects on our kids. Number one, it teaches to the test. Teachers are having to spend more and more time on reading and math and are forgetting the other subjects: science, social studies, arts, critical thinking skills, PE. Because none of these subjects are really tested on in standardized tests, schools and teachers are being forced to push them off to the side and only focusing on reading and math. I know when my kids were younger and they were in public schools before we pulled them out, they had 2 classes. They had reading, English language arts, and they had math. Those are it. They had one elective a day that was rotated out on a 7-day rotation. So every 7 days they had art. Every 7 days they had PE. Every 7 days they did science and social studies. And that was it. And their entire day was spent, half the day was with ELA, the other half of the day was with math. And we are forgetting all of the other subjects. This was in elementary school, by the way. And then for the entire month of April, all that they did all day long was practice taking standardized tests so that they would test well at the end of the year. There is increased stress and anxiety because of the test pressure on both the students and the teachers. This really undermines the quality of our education when we are solely teaching kids to do well on a test. Tests are not real life. It's not critical thinking skills. It's not logic. It's not even really important how well you do on a test unless, the kids' test scores are tied to the amount of money that the school's going to get. That's the only value really in testing to the extent that we are right now. It fails to prepare our kids for the real world, and it decreases creativity, and creativity is so important for innovation. We are not only harming our kids, but our future, because they are being less creative, less innovative, and we're not going to have the advancement in human life that we have seen in the past because we are not educating our kids properly when they're in public school. Rise of technology and online resources has made homeschooling more available and accessible to a wider variety of students. Parents can access high quality education by just going online. They can outsource their learning. There's online curricula, virtual classes, and other tools available to parents to help them educate their kids and receive an extremely high quality education, even if the parent doesn't know all of the information. And cost isn't a barrier because there are so many free online educational tools: Khan Academy, Crash Course. There's numerous YouTube videos available for education, documentaries, just so much free resources available that socioeconomic status doesn't necessarily have an impact on the type of education that a kid receives, even when being homeschooled. Money doesn't become a barrier when it comes to quality curriculum. Homeschooling is no longer a niche practice driven solely by religious motivation. More and more parents are choosing to homeschool for a variety of secular reasons. And I imagine that trend will continue to grow and reshape the future of our education. If you are new to homeschooling, then check out this video and I will walk you through the process of homeschooling as a beginner homeschooler. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.